Travis Wayne Goodsoe. I see I have an evidence denier still. You can't just put a thumbs down and expect it to be true, or expect me to go, oh, you caught me, I've been lying to you this whole time, physical evidence is just a hoax. We don't need physical evidence in life. We just live by spiritual witness. Yeah, no, that ain't how it's done. You guys are just bullies, cyber bullies. So, this one, again, following the same principle from the Book of Mormon. You're denying the Book of Mormon and putting the thumbs down, by the way. Without Jesus Christ, there is no evidence of the Church of Jesus Christ. It's that simple. And kind of need them. Without them, you ain't got the true church. And so Joseph Smith's claim that he saw Jesus Christ, well, that's not evidence, because where is he? We need to be able to see him too. The Book of Mormon, well, we've already gone over that. There is no evidence for the plates, and therefore there is no other evidence for the Book of Mormon. And thus, Jesus Christ being in the Book of Mormon is now understood as confirmed that Sidney Rigdon is the author. And so it's not an actual history, and therefore it was not Jesus. Jesus is just being written in a fiction story form. And so you can't use the Book of Mormon to justify evidence for the Church of Jesus Christ. And likewise with the Bible. Because as we can't impose Trinity from 325 AD onto the biblical text, otherwise we have to claim that the Bible was written after 325 AD. So it's far from the original authors that it claims to have been written by, which could be the case, thus explaining the anachronisms. But the anachronisms and the errors and contradictions suggest that there was no such person. And even in the works of Josephus, he promotes Vespasian, the emperor of Rome, as the Christ. And technically the Roman emperors, being anointed as kings, become Christ. And so, yeah, they were Christ. But again, that goes to a discussion as to without Jesus Christ there is no Jesus Christ, or no evidence of Jesus Christ. But that's the first step. Without the plates there is no evidence of the Book of Mormon, or of the plates. Without the plates there are no evidence of plates. But same concept. So I'm hoping you guys are catching on to the pattern. It's not just for Mormons to understand. Everybody needs to understand that this is how you're supposed to properly think and process reality. Because if you stray and you go down shiny keys and rabbit holes of apologists, you're no longer living in reality. You're able to live based on a pseudo-reality of spiritual witness. You know, whatever you believe is what is right for you, but when you come to a situation where somebody else is not having the same spiritual witness, then you've got a conflict. How do you resolve conflicts with no evidence on either side? And so the world, or at least our American society, developed the false principle of agree to disagree. Nothing gets done if you just agree to disagree and go your own way. there has to be a standard measurement for which to determine truth. Because if you compromise and just agree to disagree, then there is no truth, there is no reality. So, Mormons will try to claim, as the shiny keys and other stuff similar to the Book of Mormon, that the church is 16 million and growing, or that the church is prosperous and rich. Do you want to know how rich? I did the math. Enzyme Peak Associates is at around 170 billion now, since the whistleblower last whistleblowed. And the church said that this is the process that they do for all of the income that they receive. So it's not just tithing that they do this for. Every source of income that they get, from the LDS charities to the KSL to the Deseret Book, Deseret Industries, fast offerings, mission fund, etc. Their farms, all that stuff. The camps are all sources of revenue, and those revenue are taken a percentage out and invested into a different investment company, so that no one investment company knows the total asset value of the church. And so there's at least 3 dozen. So we'll round down to 150 billion for each of them, and we'll do a modest number of 36 for 3 dozen. And so that's 5,400 billion total asset value of the church, as an estimated guess, to give you an idea of how wealthy they are. So the previous estimates of the few billion, well, the whistleblower blew that one out of the water, as he revealed just one had 150 billion, and is now up to 170 billion. But you have to multiply that by the number of investment companies. Now, they may have differing, but we don't know, because they won't tell us. But that gives you a rough estimate of the type of ballpark you need to be in, because that's how wealthy they are. 5,400 billion, somewhere around there, plus or minus. So the Book of Mormon even tells us that that's actually what condemns a church. If they're filthy rich and they build lavish buildings like churches and temples and such, and yet they still have poor among their membership, oops, that's priestcraft by definition. That's the great and abominable church. That's the rich Zoramites, etc., etc., etc. That's the Antichrists who are preaching priestcraft. So, now the Book of Mormon condemns such a practice, and so if the Church of Jesus Christ were to follow the precepts of the Book of Mormon, as the Book of Mormon is our keystone for Mormonism, then the church is not adhering to its own keystone. So it's not the Church of Jesus Christ. And then you can go further, doing a linguistic analysis for the Book of Mormon. You can check the keystone on the Salt Lake Temple and find it carved, the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. Oops, that's not Jesus Christ. So the church technically is adhering to the doctrines of Lucifer, as Lucifer is therefore the God, because that's the manifestation, his symbol. And so it's the church of Lucifer, but the church is lying and deceiving with the cover-up of calling it the Church of Jesus Christ, who doesn't exist. Oops.